a silhouette against the Americas, sets the stage for exploring Trump's bold new approach to hemispheric foreign policy. After 2 world wars, America stepped up to stabilize Europe, Asia, the Middle East, and Africa, leaving each region more connected and prosperous. America's mid-century leadership radiated outward, transforming Europe, Asia, the Middle East, and Africa through sustained engagement and investment. Trump's presidency marks a radical pivot, shifting focus from distant global commitments back to our own hemisphere. Just as Iraq was Bush's grand experiment in transformation, Venezuela has become Trump's test case for reshaping the Americas. Trump frames Maduro's regime as a toxic mix of corruption, drug trafficking, and Chinese meddling that demands aggressive action. Toppling Maduro, Trump believes, would reset the strategic balance across the hemisphere and serve as a modern, splendid little war. A connecting thread runs from Monroe through McKinley and Roosevelt to Trump, each building on the last to control the hemisphere. Trump's approach resumes a long American tradition of reshaping our hemisphere as the world system contracts. This 1896 cartoon shows Uncle Sam blocking European powers with his rifle and a clear message: America for Americans. Monroe's 1823 doctrine set the foundation for what would evolve into Trump's aggressive hemispheric strategy today. Monroe's original doctrine was far more defensive than the bold declaration of dominance later generations made it out to be. The Monroe Doctrine worked mainly as a psychological barrier, drawing a protective line rather than promising real control. America's military in 1823 barely reached beyond its own borders, making Monroe's doctrine more bluff than credible threat. Doctrines are like software, written for one age but constantly updated and evolved for another. The Monroe Doctrine evolved from a simple boundary line into an active management system, and finally a framework for dominance. Expansion, industrialization, and the need for secure markets converged to transform Monroe's defensive posture into regional control. McKinley's era brought a hard power upgrade, turning the Monroe Doctrine into a license for hemispheric integration under U.S. management. McKinley fused tariffs, territory, and communications technology into one unified mission powering America's industrial revolution. Under McKinley, protectionism wasn't a dirty word, but a legitimate strategy fueling industrial growth and national strength. McKinley's 1898 war served dual purposes. Cuba secured the hemisphere while the Philippines tested America's global reach. This cartoon mocks McKinley as a doctor dispensing tariff medicine for every ailment, a critique echoing Trump's similar approach. McKinley's blend of tariff walls and territorial ambition resonates in Trump's rhetoric, both seeing protectionism as readiness, not retreat. That's the part of Trumpism that much of MAGA simply doesn't understand and thus fearfully misinterprets. Roosevelt's 1904 corollary transformed Monroe's Keep Out sign into an active doctrine of preemptive intervention and management. Roosevelt wielded hard power through the Panama Canal, soft power through peace negotiations, and symbolic power through gunboat diplomacy. Roosevelt at the Panama Canal construction site demonstrates his hands-on approach to building hemispheric infrastructure and projecting power. Trump mirrors Roosevelt's playbook, reclaiming the canal, seeking a Nobel Prize, and literally gunboating Venezuela. Roosevelt shifted America from reactive defense to proactive organization, viewing disorder as opportunity rather than reason to withdraw. Roosevelt linked industrialization to order-making, just as Trump connects digital reindustrialization to hemispheric control today. Trump's second term consciously revives the Monroe-McKinley-Roosevelt lineage, transforming the hemisphere from neighborhood into domain. Trump takes Monroe's shield, McKinley's fortress, and Roosevelt's management system, then forges them into an offensive sword. Trump's doctrine contradicts Monroe's original purpose, actively expelling foreign presence rather than merely resisting interference. Trump targets Chinese influence across Argentina, Brazil, Peru, and Venezuela using sanctions, tariffs, naval force, and strategic investments. This massive Chinese port in Nanjing illustrates the logistics presence Trump aims to counter through strategic investments in South America. Trump's strategy mirrors McKinley's logic, consolidate regional control to power industrial revitalization and nationalist ambition. Energy dominance replaces steam power, reshored supply chains replace trade routes, and the hemisphere becomes a closed nationalist system. Trump seeks monumentalization and visible proof of dominion, viewing the Western Hemisphere as offering trophies, not headaches. Trump's ambitions include infrastructure projects, resource corridors, and even territorial acquisitions like Greenland and the Panama Canal. McKinley thought in railroads and tariffs, while Trump thinks in spaceports and pipelines, both self-actualizing national ambition. To Trump, the Western Hemisphere represents American heritage and manifest destiny reborn, explaining his revival of Mount McKinley. A man with a cross reading "No More Communism" at a Miami rally shows how Miami functions as Trump's hemispheric headquarters. Miami serves as the geopolitical capital of the Americas, embodying the Rubio doctrine of anti-communism, capitalism, and regional deal-making. Miami connects Cuban dissidents, Venezuelan opposition, Colombian investors, and security hawks into one grid displacing China's Belt and Road. Trump's network runs on leverage rather than law, with each trade deal and arms sale signaling the return of hemispheric hierarchy. Venezuela serves as Trump's strategic gambit, where supporting Maria Corina Machado provides moral cover for economic realignment. Trump's Venezuela strategy serves three purposes: moral justification, economic realignment, and his own 2026 Nobel campaign. In Trump's narrative, Venezuela blocks an integrated America's First Order of United Markets, AI supply chains, and U.S. security guarantees. Opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, waving Venezuela's flag, embodies the democratic resistance Trump supports as both moral cause and strategic tool. Trump has mused about adding stars to Old Glory, and history shows American grand strategy often begins with metaphors becoming maps. Roosevelt sought integration into the East-West world system, while Trump seeks recentering around a North-South vertical sphere of influence. Globalization dispersed power horizontally through countless supply chains, while Trump's hemispheric consolidation concentrates it vertically. East-West globalization has peaked, reaching its natural limit and creating conditions for a strategic pivot. Three great hubs now dominate the global economy: North America, Europe, and East Asia, each facing more North-South than East-West issues. Climate change and demographic collapse converge to trigger massive poleward migrations, shifting strategic focus from East-West to North-South. Trump singles out mass migration as the defining security threat, declaring "your countries are going to hell," and completing the hemispheric pivot. This realignment expresses an America's First doctrine based not on nostalgia, but on emerging structural realities of demographics, climate, and trade. Demographics drive migration northward, climate hardens the south, and trade re-regionalizes vertically from Alaska to Patagonia. Monroe drew the perimeter, McKinley filled it, Roosevelt made it move, and Trump now reclaims it as destiny. The recurring American order-building instinct has evolved through territorial, industrial, and now digital eras. Trump markets retrenchment as resurgence, portraying the multi-state union reborn as an empire of hemispheric self-sufficiency. That's the paradox at Trump's core: nostalgic and revolutionary, insular and imperial, defensive and expansive, everything everywhere all at once.